Hello, friends, and welcome back to our L.O.S. Kids Discovery Guides. We are so excited to be starting off this new season with a very special musical showdown. In order to prepare ourselves for this concert, we are going to be learning about two of the most famous composers in history, Johann Sebastian Bach and Ludwig van Beethoven. Let's start with the older of the two, Bach. Johann Sebastian Bach came from a super musical family. The Bach family had been creating music for over 300 years before our composer was even born. His dad worked as the town musician, so music was a huge part of our composer's life. Johann Sebastian Bach's sons even went on to become composers themselves, and at that time were more famous than their father. When our composer was just a boy, he went to go live with his brother, who was a church organist. That's where Bach learned even more about music and learned how to play the organ himself. Has anybody ever seen an organ before? After working for a duke and a prince, Bach became the director of music at St. Thomas Church in Germany. This meant that he was in charge of all the music at the church and also helped teach young musicians. Even though his job at the church kept him very busy, Bach still made time for something fun on the side. He led a group of musicians who performed at a local coffee house. They loved performing music together, and this gave Bach a chance to write music outside of the church and to experiment in creating new types of compositions with friends. Our composer wrote a lot of fugues. Does anybody know what a fugue is? A fugue is a kind of music where a melody starts in one part and then another part takes turns playing the same tune. It sounds like a musical game of tag. One part begins with the melody, then another jumps in with the same melody, and then another. They all start to fit together like puzzle pieces. Sometimes the theme is higher, lower, faster, or slower, but it's still the same melody, just played in a new way. Bach was really good at making fugues. He used these to show how music can be smart, beautiful, and full of patterns. When you listen closely, you can hear how they sound like different voices talking and arguing with one another. Let's listen to one of these now and see if you can listen really closely and hear the different voices coming together to create a fugue. we've learned all about Bach, let's meet the second star of our musical showdown, Beethoven. Ludwig van Beethoven was also born in Germany, although at a much later time period than Bach. He also came from a musical family. His father was a singer and Beethoven's very first music teacher. Beethoven was a very talented pianist as well. When he was very young, he began giving piano performances all throughout towns in Germany. He was so good at this that he was able to support his family, even though he was still a kid himself. While Beethoven was in his 20s, he moved to Vienna, Austria, which would be his home for the rest of his life. Beethoven did not work for a church or a king like Bach. Instead, Beethoven became one of the first composers to make a living entirely writing the music that he loved. At first, people knew our composer as an amazing pianist, but something very hard happened to Beethoven. When he was around 30 years old, he started to go deaf. Over time, he couldn't hear well enough to perform the piano anymore. But our composer didn't give up. Even though he couldn't hear the music, he kept writing it. Even after he had lost his hearing completely, Beethoven wrote some of his most powerful and famous works. Isn't that amazing? Now, let's listen to music from both of these composers and see if you can use what you learned in this video to tell who wrote which piece. I've had so much fun learning about Bach and Beethoven with you all. Now, I'm excited to introduce you to the music of a whole classroom of students. This past spring, third graders from PS 125 in Harlem wrote an amazing piece of music called the Endangered Song, and we are so excited for the L.O.S. Orchestra to perform this great piece of music in our concert.
Hi everyone! Welcome back to Storytime with Jordan. I am so excited for this book. Today we have The Animal Orchestra Plays Beethoven, illustrated by Og Jakowska. And in this book, there are a bunch of different animals playing our favorite instruments and playing some incredible music from Beethoven. Let's get started. Look! It's the Animal Orchestra! They're going to play us some music and tell us all about it. Hello everyone, today we're playing music by Ludwig van Beethoven. Beethoven lived more than 200 years ago, but he'll never be forgotten because the music he wrote is so wonderful. Oh, I love this one. It sounds really exciting, like a storm. I've heard this music before. Does it sound familiar to you? Amazing. Beethoven was already a fantastic musician when he was a little boy, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He played his first concert when he was 7 years old.
Beethoven left home when he was 18 and went to live in Vienna. Vienna was where the most famous musicians in Europe lived. Beethoven dreamed of becoming famous too. Ooh, this music is so peaceful and lovely. Do any of you see a favorite animal on here? I love the reindeer with the scarf a lot. I love the bear over here leading the orchestra. This is a good group. Ooh, we're in the forest now. Okay. Look! This music has a piano in it! Did Beethoven play the piano? Ooh. Yes, he was incredibly good at it. He played it so hard that sometimes he broke it.
He wrote lots of beautiful music for the piano.
This is a concerto. A concerto is where the pianist plays along with an orchestra. Whoa! Listen to this piano. Oh my gosh. That was, wow. It sounds so good with the other instruments. As he got older, Beethoven started to lose his hearing. For the last 10 years of his life, he couldn't hear at all. It made him sad that he couldn't hear music anymore, but he carried on writing. Here's a tune that Beethoven only ever heard in his head. Oh, I've heard this one before. Millions of people all around the world love this tune, you know. It's hard to believe that Beethoven never heard it played out loud. Do any of you have a favorite animal in the orchestra here? I like the fox. I like the bunny a lot. I love the owl here playing the French horn. That's great. Beethoven wrote more than 700 pieces of music. It's hard for us to choose just 5 to play for you because there are so many great ones. Here's one last one. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Ooh! And they're out on the water too. 3 cheers for the Animal Orchestra! I love Beethoven! Let's listen again. This is so beautiful. Wow. The animals are having such a blast. They're all on the bridge listening to this great Beethoven music. What a special book. That is one of my favorites so far. I loved all the music. I loved all the animals and the beautiful illustrations too. Tell me, what was your favorite animal and your favorite piece of music? And maybe what was your favorite instrument that you saw too? Thank you so much for joining. Until next time, this has been Storytime with Jordan. Bye!